Hello friends, welcome to my channel Hima Education Made Easy. In the previous video, we have seen that what a Python iterator is and how we are going to use these iterators. Right. So here how we are going to use the for loop and how we are going to access the next element. So this is what I have seen, and in today's class, we'll be going with Python scope. Okay, a variable is only available from inside the region is created. This is called a scope. So whenever you create any variable inside a function that is taken as scope. So here we'll be having local scope and as well as a global scope. Okay, a variable created inside a function belongs to the local scope of that particular function and can only be used inside that function only. Okay, so here I'm going to remove everything. So here we came up with a concept called functions. So here in order to define a function, we need to give def. So my function, I'm going to define it, and then this is what the syntax in order to define a function. So here I'm going to give a variable x called 100. Okay, then I'm going to print x whenever I call this particular function. Okay, so here I'm calling my function. So here my function. So I'm calling it. So and I'm going to run it. So here I'll be able to see 100, which is called upon calling my function. So here, as we have discussed, the variable x is not available outside the function, but it is available for any function inside that particular function only. Okay, so here we can say it as a local variable. Okay, so the local variables can be accessed from the function within a function, but not outside this particular function. So here I am having already a function, and I'm going to define one more function inside that particular thing. Okay, so here I'm going to use one more function which I'm going to define, which I'm calling it as my inner function. Okay, and then I'm going to call here the variable which I have been created in my function. Okay, so here print x. So here now I want to call my inner function. I need to call it first, and then I need to call my function. Okay, so here if I run it, you'll be able to see that 100 has been called because so here whenever you call this my inner function, it will go with print of x. Okay, whenever we call with this outer function, my function, then it will execute the things which are there in original function. Okay, now we'll see that without calling my inner function, will it give us an output or not? Okay, so here it won't give us any output because here we are not having any print statements given in this main function, and in this inner function we have given some thing, right? So here instead of giving that one, so here in order to print the functions which are there in inner functions, we need to call inner functions first, and then we need to go with outer function. So here I need to call my inner function first, then only I'll be able to see that my inner function will get executed. Okay, so now we'll be going with global scope. A variable created in the main body of the Python code is a global variable and belongs to the global scope. Global variables are available from within any scope, that is global and local. So here, instead of defining this variable inside a function, I want to define it outside the function. Okay, so here if I define it outside, it will be considered as a global and can be used by anything like inner function, outer function, anything. So here if I go with print one, so even then I'll be able to call this one. Okay. Previously we saw that if it is there inside in my function, then only we'll be able to call it. So here I'll be removing this one, and then so here I'll be removing this one, and here I'm going to write a print of x. Even if there isn't any variable defined inside a function, this will go with the outer, that is global scope, and it will call itself. Okay, so this is what the concept of global scope and local scope. So here we'll be going with naming a variable name. If you operate with the same variable name inside and outside a function, Python will treat them as two separate variables, one available in global scope, that is outside the function, and one available in local scope, which is defined inside the function. Okay, so here I'm going to define the scope, that is a variable inside a function with the same name, x is equal to 200. Let me say it as, and if I run it, which output will I be able to see? Right. So here function will call a local scope, not a global scope. So if in presence of local scope, then only it will go for global scope. Okay, this is what the difference is. And then so here if I go with print of x, then what will I be able to see? Right, so here outside this function I'll be able to access the global scope. Okay, if you need to create a global variable but are stuck in the local scope, you can use the global keyword. Okay, so here the global keyword makes a variable to be global. So here already without creating any global variable, already we have created a local variable. In order to make this one to be global, so inside a function we need to give it as a global x at first, and then we need to go with this thing. So here now we'll be saying that both will be of 200. So here I'm going to define x is equal to 100, and then if I run it, I'll be able to see this one as 200 because the local x has been converted into a global scope. This is what the main difference is. Also, we can use the global keyword if we want to make changes to a global variable inside a function. Okay, so this is how we are going to do the scope. Okay, then we'll be going with Python modules in our further coming classes. With this, we'll be winding up this session. And if you like the video, please do like, share, and subscribe.